50 beers on a Tuesday afternoon. 50 beers on a Tuesday afternoon. Fuck yeah!
All right, what's up, everybody? Actually, hold on one second. I thought I was ready. Get some mood lighting up in this bitch. All right, we're here. Episode 15 beers on Tuesday afternoon. Episode 11. We've had Sam Bones and Taillight Rebellion so far. We're going to talk to Duane Mark from living just outside of Austin, Texas. I do this weird thing where if I have the control panel for the live feed on Facebook where I can see everyone's comments, but if I back out of it, I don't know how to get back into it. I can watch the video. But then it's delayed, so I can't do that because then the sound is all fucked up. So I don't know. So I'll have to look at the comments afterwards. Fucking amateurs. All right. Duane Mark says he's almost done on the shitter, so be freshly whatever.
Hello.
Hello there, bud.
How are you?
Pretty good. How you doing?
I'm fucking fantastic.
Yeah? All right. How's the quarantine life treating you out there? We'll just jump right into it.
How long am I supposed to laugh at that?
I don't know. You know, it's up to you. You do what you want. Is it? Well, you got a little compound there, but you got a lot of people, right?
Yeah. There's 9 of us that live here full time.
So you kind of have like a community. So it's like even if you're isolating, you still have people around, but they're just the same people.
I'm a person who believes in balance, and what I will say to that is, it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, okay.
It is absolutely wonderful to have people and not be isolated and just by myself.
Yeah.
On the same token, after 4 months of being together, especially some of those are my kids, and they have a life at school. They had things that they did, and all of a sudden it's all gone. And so there's been moments where we wanted to murder each other.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So I get it though. Everybody's got their pros and cons in their situation.
Yeah, absolutely. So have they decided with school for the fall, what's going to happen? Austin or Texas in general is kind of weird where it opened up and then things got a little worse, so it closed down a little bit, right?
I don't like to get into too much socio-political
Gotcha.
stuff, but I will say this. We, as a family, have been rather disappointed with how...
people's approach to it, yeah.
With how Texas has handled it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just... At least our school district, I should say. It's just been very... Just no information. Just all of a sudden, a week before they decide to make a change, you'll get that instead of months before. Hey, this is our plan. This is what we're thinking about doing.
Yeah.
And then before that, there's just a lot of angry speculation from people.
Yeah.
And it kind of sucks.
It seems because kids go back late August, September. I think even here, they don't know what they're going to do yet because everyone I think thinks things are going to be different. For better or worse in a month than they are now, maybe it'll be a lot better and then things can just be normal, or maybe it'll be a lot worse and things will be back.
There's a lot of talk here about them maybe doing time on, time off kind of stuff.
Yeah, like
track schooling where I grew up on the West Coast, but
where you go a couple days a week.
At this point.
Absolutely. And you were generally what do you do normally? You're for the last few years, you do about 4 months, 5 months, 6 months on the road. You're pretty busy, dude.
We average about 120 shows a year on the road.
Okay.
I try to keep it in smaller 3-week increments.
Yeah.
And then go home for 4 or 5 weeks.
Gotcha.
Summertime with all the festivals makes that a little bit harder, but that's usually what we shoot for.
Yeah, right on. So that this has been a whole different situation for you altogether. I mean, it's been
that's where the laughing part comes back.
There you go.
It's been a personal challenge, I'll say that. And honestly, the challenge is just not to be a piece of shit. I mean,
Yeah.
It's really easy just to get wrapped up in how I feel about things and be angry and sit and drink and drink and drink and be depressed and sleep for God knows how long. But I think some good has come out of it. I've been really focusing on my cooking skills and really trying to bone up on that, working hard in my engineering side of stuff for studio. I've always loved audio engineering, and it's something I've been chasing for almost 20 years now.
Your live set for Heavy Rebel was extremely well produced. Like you did a very good job with that.
And that was going to be the third part of what I was going to say is even the video side of stuff. I've been learning a lot about editing.
Yeah.
Been working really close with my partner Chandra Brill, who runs Night Kite Design, on things like the video editing. So it's been good. We've even had a chance to really focus on some things here on the farm. Like, I shit you not, I had a shed that I started building in February of 2016, like 3 months after I moved here.
Yeah.
And we just finished it 2 months ago.
Right on. Well, that's what I've told Lara that with her new place. Like, if their lives were normal, they would be finishing stuff that they've already finished 4 years from now. You know,
the touring schedule makes it really hard because then when you do come home, you got to get back to work and normal life, and that extra time where you would have projects, your normal Saturday would be filled with milling through the garage or whatever. You just don't have time for things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you just put it when your album came out, like right at the beginning
January.
of this. Oh, just before this. Okay, so you got like a little bit of time in.
I got to tour on this for 2 weeks, and then we had this grand plan to take 6 weeks off and then really hit the road hard starting the middle of March all the way through November. And
wow.
That
yeah.
That didn't go as planned.
That's a whole different animal. Do you think, like, now that you're home, like you're talking about working on videos and stuff like that, have you been trying to push the album through venues? Like, if you're on the road, you don't have time to be contacting magazines or making videos for every song or stuff like that. Has that been a focus, or is that something you're thinking about doing?
We have worked a small amount on that. I have a managing partner in San Diego, and her name's Amanda. She's kind of helped us with some of that, and we picked up a few reviews and stuff like that. But
yeah,
I gotta be honest, I was sitting on the toilet this morning thinking about exactly that. Like, man, this isn't over as far as the COVID issue goes. It's months, if not a year, from really being where things can be back to normal for us to tour again on a larger scale. So I really need to focus more on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's super, super important.
Yeah, and something like, especially if you're doing video stuff, maybe trying to do a video for a song and then pushing that, to getting some website or something to release it and people to talk about that might, garner some interest, which I think a lot of us, should do more often. But we just get so caught, you don't have the time for it, you don't have, and then I think everyone thinks it's more important to just get out there and play shows, which maybe it is, but I think we could also do a little bit more press for ourselves because no one else is doing it. Traditionally you would have a label or something to do that for you, but we don't, and I think sometimes we neglect doing that for ourselves to the extent that we should.
I agree 100%. That's something that this time off, if you will, has really brought more to the forward of my mind in that no one else is going to do this for me ever in the future. And if we're going to start really making some waves, not only nationally here, but in other markets like Western Europe and Northern South America, like we've really got to start pushing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you can just sit at home and send press releases to fucking Brazil or to, wherever you think that people might be into it, and who knows what's going to happen. I think Australia might be a good. I think there's like maybe an Americana market in Australia that like is a.
But I think of it this way, in a positive light. So what if we send out 100 of those emails or whatever form of contact that we're using, and we only get one back?
Yeah.
If I can send out 100 of those emails a week and get one publication per week, that's pretty damn good.
No, that's exactly. It is, and it does feel like, I think, futile sometimes because you're it's like booking shows where your response rate is not going to be that great, because you're coming from a place where no one knows who the fuck you are. But I think
what's brought to light for me, I don't mean to interrupt you, is
not at all.
That at the end of the day, I need to do better of this when we go back to touring.
Yeah.
There's got to be more balance there.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I feel like we're touring so hard that we're kind of spinning our wheels on some level. And don't get me wrong, the touring pays the bills. Not having this record for sale right now has put me in debt.
Yeah.
But that's just a reminder that we should be a little bit more balanced in how we're promoting ourselves, because as you said, there isn't a label behind us. It's not the traditional way of doing it like we think of it, but it's kind of the new norm here, especially in the last 10 years. I mean, when I was in the music business in the late 90s and early 2000s, it was a wildly different animal than it was now. Things like MySpace were just coming to the forefront,
What kind of stuff were you doing back then? Were you still doing like singer-songwriter stuff in the 90s?
No, I came from more of a hard rock background.
Okay.
I really loved doing stuff that was more riff rock, kind of mathy type of stuff, where odd time signatures, a lot of really good guitar-focused riffs.
And you were a guitar player, singer? Is that what were you doing in those bands? Oh, wow.
Yeah, I still did that then. I played bass in one band, but the majority of what I did was the guitar frontman type of thing.
I would love to hear some of that stuff. That's amazing.
I don't know if you would.
Yeah? You got band...
I'll tell you what.
Yeah?
We sat down at the beginning of this pandemic, maybe a couple weeks in, and took time to go back through some of that. And I got to be honest, it was a horribly eye-opening experience. I mean, I started in a band when I was 15 years old.
Yeah.
And by the time I was 17 and a half, almost 18, we were doing some tour dates on the West Coast. And I don't know why the hell people even listen to us. It was pretty crazy. But fast forward into the mid-2000s, and we had kind of come into our own at that point, and we're starting to really understand stuff.
Yeah.
There's a big, long story about that, too, how that is part of what shaped me into being a singer-songwriter. I had a producer that just really, really pushed on me. He had us go back in and re-record the 17 demos that we had turned in to our record label.
Okay.
But he wanted them just with the lead vocal and whatever we thought the most important instrument was.
Wow. And
I got to be honest, it tore to shred the songs.
Yeah.
And suddenly, out of 17, we were left with 3 that were worthwhile.
Okay.
And that was a really hard pill to swallow.
Yeah.
And if I'm honest with myself and you and whoever's listening, I was an arrogant prick. And I did not respond well to that at all.
Yeah. Huh?
I got pretty pissed about it. And in reality, I shouldn't have, because the producer was very right.
It's a growth moment,
It was a very good live show, but it just wasn't a good record, What
was the band called?
That band was called The Passing.
Okay. All right.
And you know what? I got to be honest. I've looked for it online, and the remnants that you can find of it are so tiny, it's ridiculous. But I got a box full of shit that I was thinking, we're coming up on our 20-year anniversary now.
Right.
I was thinking about maybe posting some of that just for fun.
Yeah, why not?
As embarrassing as it is.
Yeah, fuck it. I mean, it's just, it is what it is. You come from that to an extent, that had bearing on what you are now. So.
Right.
Yeah, that's always interesting.
There's no way that those days didn't shape me, just like you're saying.
Yeah, of course. I mean, yeah. Right on. What was I gonna say? The new album you recorded in Memphis, if I'm not mistaken, right? And you did it with Tim and Sarah?
Yep.
And then Josh Stevens played drums, right? Did I see that
correct?
Glorious.
I was listening to Swagger talk about Memphis there just a little while ago, and yeah absolutely. Those 3 people just made our world go around there.
Nice.
And then working with the producer Scott McEwen.
Okay.
I don't know, man. I'm not tooting my own horn here, but I feel like it's the best work that I've ever done.
Yeah, that's great.
It's something that for decades to come I can be proud of. And I owe a lot of that to those 3 for really putting their mark on it as well.
To which 3? The producer... Oh,
I'm sorry. I guess I should say those 4.
Okay. So the producer, Sarah, Tim, is that what and Josh, is that what we're saying?
And Josh, because Josh even came into the studio last minute We had another plan for a drummer that just fell through very last minute.
Right on.
And Josh came in and really saved the day for us, learned the music and the songs on the fly while we were in the studio.
Nice.
And just kicked ass at it.
Well, he's a great musician, and I've seen some of the stuff he does, that band thing where they do the full band show, like in a large theater, and I've seen some clips of like practices from that are just like, wow, you guys are fucking some good musicians that like seem to
absolutely
do cool shit.
I love working with him. There was talk before the pandemic of possibly hitting the road together this year.
Yeah.
Obviously, that fell through, but we'll see what happens in the future. That might be something that we might be able to do.
With a drummer, huh? That's interesting.
I would love that. I know that's something that before we parted ways with Sarah, that she was a very, very big proponent of. She wanted a drummer so bad.
Nice, yeah.
I can't blame her. I love that feel. Somehow it seems like it makes it more danceable, if you will.
Yeah, no, definitely, without question, yeah. Anytime we every now and then when we get a chance to, we'll do Red Necromancer shows with a drummer. We'll steal Matt and Jeremy from the Arctones, or we have this other young girl who's like big. Her big things are Against Me and John Bonham. She's like 22 and she's just a basher. You know, she's like over the top kind of like heavy hitter, and it's fun as shit to play shows with her. And it just makes it a whole different experience. You know.
Every time I hear those words, like over the top and heavy hitter, I instantly think of Dave Grohl as a drummer. Would you make any comparison there?
Yeah, I mean, she's more. I think she's actually a little more like I think she plays more than Dave does. You know, because she has the like punk rockness of Against Me and the John Bonham influence. So I think because Dave Grohl sits back a lot, but yeah, she's in that neighborhood. Yeah, she's a great drummer, Cass.
We had that band that I was talking about, The Passing. We worked with two different drummers over the 7, almost 8 years that we were together.
Yeah.
And the one that stayed with us the longest and was there at kind of when everything fell apart, his name was Douglas, and he got a lot of those cool accolades from people, being compared to guys like Keith Moon, and I don't know. I love drummers like that.
Yeah, it's fun. I've been getting into drumming more. I have like a little setup here now. I just ordered a Presonus Audio Box 8-channel input. I have a 2-input one that I'm using for like this show. But now I think with the 8, I'll be able to like get a little bit better of a drum sound. And I've been like emailing some stuff back and forth with some of my married friends that like, you know, we can't feasibly have practices. You know, that's why we haven't played together in years. But these are like killer players that have good ideas. And now it's kind of like the perfect time for that shit, you know?
100%. I have a Motu 8 Pre that I run, which has 8 individual channels like that. And man, that makes my little home studio go round and round. Whether we're doing demos or that live set you mentioned earlier from Heavy Rebel, that was recorded through that. And it's when you have 8 solid channels, you can take any 3 or 4 piece band and make it sound great.
Yeah, absolutely. You had like
Tim and I were actually working on a project just the other day, and he recorded some drums here in my home studio, and I haven't done drums here in a long time, like years.
Yeah.
And man, it sounded sick. And all we did was just a kick snare and a really quality tube-driven overhead.
Okay.
And man, it's I'll have to send you the audio file.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
pretty gnarly.
What do you do? What's your approach to the snare recording?
Like the snare recording?
Yeah. How do you where do you mic the snare with?
I am old school when it comes to that. I just run an SM57.
Okay.
Just right off the edge of the top of the snare, and it's more to get some of the actual hitting of the drum than it is the rattling of the snare. That rattling of the snare resonates through every other mic.
Gotcha. Okay.
But getting that impact there, it's something that really makes those drums sound bigger.
Mm-hmm. That's what I have. I have two like nice condenser overheads, like very directional kind of looking mics that I'm borrowing from Goldpaw. And like the toms sound, like I don't think I need to individually mic my toms. I hit kind of heavy, so they pick up so nice from that. It's like my snare and hi-hat that I think I need to figure out, you know, a better approach to.
When we did that I was super surprised at this, but when we did that record with Scott, middle of last year, he only put, I'm thinking off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure it was only 4 mics total, maybe 5. We had a kick mic, we had a snare mic, we had a mic that was faced at the floor tom
Okay.
on its head, and then we had an overhead stereo. It's a single mic that runs a stereo signal.
Oh wow. Okay. Nice.
And then we had one room mic on it, because I don't know if you've ever seen pictures of that room. It's epic. It's
Yeah.
it's a lot like the RCA Studio B.
Okay.
And yeah, that drum sound just came out crazy.
Yeah.
We haven't officially announced this yet, and I'm probably sticking my foot in my mouth by saying this on a live show, but we have another EP that's already recorded that we did at the same time.
Oh,
and
wow.
It has more drum work on it, and especially more tom work, and holy moly, it's sick, the drum sounds that
that's
came out
great
of
to
that
get
room
like
and out of Josh Stevens.
Yeah, to get 2 releases out of one session. That's great.
Oh man, I went into the studio with like 25 songs, so we
How long were
we
you?
thought, we can't just put 10 of them out and scrap all the other ones. Let's
Yeah.
record 16 or 18 of them and put out 2 releases during the same time.
How long were you there for? Like how many days did you do?
We spread it out over the course of a couple months, but like the rhythm tracking was 4 days. I think we did 11 or 12 days total.
Oh, so you were just like coming back and forth between Texas and Memphis, like you were just going there when
It
you
was
had.
whenever it was convenient. Sometimes it revolved around tour dates. Sometimes it was just a trip up there for that.
Wow. Okay. Memphis, Austin.
That
Memphis.
has a whole bunch of horror stories attached to it too. Like
Yeah.
Tim and I went in to do the rhythm tracking with Josh Stevens, and Tim and I were coming off of a run out to the West Coast for a festival out there. We met up with Whiskey Dick to do a few dates, headed out towards Memphis, even played in Memphis the night before we went into the studio. And man, we both got sick on the way. And yeah, that was probably the most brutal studio time I've ever done. He and I were literally just sitting and sweating and coughing as we were in this gorgeous air-conditioned studio. We looked like we were going to die. How Josh and Scott put up with us, I don't know, but we got it done. All the rhythm tracking for all 16 songs was done in 4 days, and it obviously sounds pretty solid.
Yeah, the album sounds great. Your live stream was really good. What do you had? You had at least 3 cameras going, right? Do you have more than 3 cameras?
We wound up with 4 camera angles.
Whoa.
We shot that with cell phones.
Oh yeah? Okay.
Yeah. I've learned a lot about the camera stuff, not only from this pandemic time, but I've been studying it for about the last year and a half. And a lot of it comes down to making sure that your lighting's good, and a lot of it comes down to making sure that the camera can actually focus not only on that lighting, but things like having a gimbal or a stabilizer. Holy crap, that makes a huge difference.
What does that mean? Like that's just like what you're putting the camera on?
Yeah, so instead of a traditional tripod or something, it's a motorized suspension and stabilization system.
Oh wow.
You can get them for cell phones now for like $70 that are absolutely excellent.
Okay.
And what it does is it allows that camera, whether it's a dedicated camera or cell phone camera or the like, it allows that camera to be steady and not shake. That shaking is where you lose a lot of that focal.
Yeah.
And, it makes a world of difference, man.
And so you had those for each camera? Is that what was going on?
We had it for a couple of the cameras. A couple of them are just set up on traditional tripods. And if you really watch the video closely, you'll see some of it going out of focus when somebody like stomped next to it or something.
And what program do you run through to like put it all together?
For the audio, I'm really addicted to Motu stuff. It's something I started using in the mid 2000s.
Okay.
So I use Motu's Digital Performer.
Gotcha.
Or as us studio perverts like to call it, DP.
Mm-hmm.
And then I use After Effects from Adobe for all of the editing. It's probably not the most intense editing program that the Adobe suite offers, but it's it's pretty gnarly. And for me, learning and again, Chandra helping me with that stuff,
Yeah.
it's been really solid for us to work with.
Nice. Yeah, I've been using Shotcut to like cut up these videos, like to put them on YouTube after the fact. And
Yeah.
it's not, I don't know, it works, but it's probably not the best. I think my laptop also is not good enough to run it, so it's very laggy anytime that I'm trying to use it.
Oh yeah, dude, that's the hardest part is when you're rendering or anything like that.
Yeah.
I don't have a crazy great laptop either.
Yeah, the
I
video
bought mine like
editing.
2 years ago, and I bought a good one at the time. But man, it struggles hard with that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's a very patient game.
Yeah, yeah. But you don't have to. How often do you have to do it? And yeah, exactly. It's fun to learn new things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right on. What else do I have to ask you? I'm getting a little boozy. I've been going pretty hard for the last 3 days, so I thought today was going to be not that boozy, but it seems like it's getting.
I got
there.
a question for you then.
You okay?
What number beer are you on?
Oh, that's a good question. 2, 4, 6, 7. This is only 8, so I think hitting 15 is probably not going to happen. But
I had to grocery shop for the farm here before I did this with you, so I'm a little behind. But
yeah,
I've knocked down two bourbons and 2 beers and
All right.
a White Claw.
And a White Claw. Okay, so you're mixing it. What beers are you drinking? This is bourbon, beer, and White Claw. All right.
It's Lone Star.
Okay. Fuck yeah. Traditional.
It's Texas, man. If you get shot on sight if you drink certain things here.
Texas is the first place I've ever seen anyone put. We played a show in San Antonio. It was Tiger Piss, and it's one of those shows where you show up and they don't know that you're supposed to play. and, and we were playing with some punk band from Seattle who Iggy Pop had written their last album with them.
Oh wow!
So they were like, they had managers and shit. Like they were even more upset than we booked it through MySpace. So we are very used to showing up and not having people know that we're playing. But yeah, this band wasn't. But it's the first place I've ever seen people putting salt in their beer. It seems like a weird thing to do.
I was thinking about that the other day because you don't see a whole ton of people down here with like blood pressure and hypertension problems. So maybe it's because we sweat so much we need that.
Yeah, is that a thing? Yeah, they're putting salt in their beer for health.
Let's go with that.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
I was listening to Swagger talk also about the weather there in Memphis.
Yeah, that's
and
fucking.
don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Right there on the Mississippi, it's pretty gnarly.
It's fucking steamy. Yeah, that's a rough spot.
But I kind of laugh because we go through that all year here. It like never ends.
Austin's
even
fucking
when
weird.
Matt and Lara, you were here in December of what was that? December 2018.
Yeah.
And even then, it's not cold and it's always humid.
I've been in Austin when it's fucking 30 degrees for a couple days though. It's
weird when that happens. The whole entire Central Texas area will just shut down.
Yeah.
I remember it was I think it was the end of 2017. I was headed to a gig with Ryan Seiler in San Marcos, which is only about 45 minutes southeast of where we live here. And man, it took almost 2.5 hours to get there because there is about 1.5 inches of snow on the road.
Oh wow.
People were just losing their minds. There was cars spun off the road. It's funny. And you see my tour schedule. I tour during the winter.
Yeah,
I go into
fucking
places
north.
like
You go into
Minnesota, Maine. I don't care. But watching these people, I get a hell of a chuckle out of how this whole entire area, the kids, if they even think that there's a 50% chance of snow or ice in the morning, they just cancel school the next day.
Yeah, I believe it. And they had the Super Bowl in Dallas that one year where there's an ice storm and it just like fucked up everyone's fucking life. Like it's a disaster area. Yeah. When
as tough as Texas is, they don't deal with the cold very well.
Well, I think just the infrastructure, the amount of money you have to put into infrastructure to deal with snow is so great, that like these salt trucks and plows and all this stuff, like if it's gonna
Kevin, I don't want to bring logic into this situation.
Okay, fair enough.
I know that you're right, but shut the fuck up.
Boom. Roasted. That drive back from when we stayed at your house in December, we had to haul ass. We left LA Friday at 6:30 and had to be back for a Monday night show in New York. And
Good
there was
grief.
a snowstorm on, I forget which highway. I don't know if we were on 40 or whatever runs through New Mexico, whatever interstate there.
Yeah, probably I-40 up on like
It's like through the
through
mountains, kind of.
Albuquerque.
Yes, I believe
That's
so.
I-40.
But there must have been snow the night before us, and there was just like every mile you'd see a tractor trailer off the road or a crashed car or whatever, and it was like an inch of snow. And it's like, these are truck drivers, so why?
Right.
Like a truck driver, you can say people don't know how to drive in snow, but a truck driver obviously has to go through all kinds of conditions. Like, I just didn't understand. Maybe it was people swerving in front of them because they didn't know how to drive or whatever. But
Yeah.
it was really not bad conditions, and there were wrecked cars everywhere, and every rest stop that would have like a Subway and a Wendy's with like 120 people online. All the chips would be gone it was like a weird disaster fucking thing because everything was so backed up. It was like a fuck show. I don't know.
We got really lucky one time. We were heading from Seattle to Spokane in February. I want to say that was 2014. It was 2014 or 15.
Okay.
And is it Snoqualmie, the pass that's there? I think that's like I-90.
Okay.
And we got stuck in a storm that was pretty thick and heavy. Big snow, really, really, really sticking on the road. Thankfully, no wind.
Yeah.
But I just tucked the little minivan we were in behind a semi, maybe, I don't know, 5-6 car lengths behind it.
Okay.
And he was hauling ass going 45 miles an hour, and we just stuck there white knuckled and made it over that pass about 15 minutes before they closed it.
Oh,
so
Jesus.
I'm thankful that I didn't get stuck at one of those rest stop situations.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's a nightmare.
Yeah. It's scary shit going through like the Rocky Mountains. There were a couple times on that Setzer tour where we had a debate about whether we should go buy chains for the tires. And I've never put chains on car tire. I don't even know what that entails, but there were certain things we thought that maybe we would get to spots where we weren't allowed to stay on the road if we didn't have chains,
Yeah.
I think that maybe in Colorado that happens. I'm not really sure. What's up with that cooking show that we filmed at Lara's?
Oh my God.
Like,
You and 1,000 people are asking me
it
this.
is quarantine. You've been home. What are you doing?
So part of the reason for learning the video editing is to make sure that I close that chapter of the Duane Mark saga out. Getting fat with Duane Mark.
I think that was a fantastic idea. That's
we've been working on it for what, 3.5 years now?
Is that how long you've been doing it? Yeah. I mean, part of me doesn't want to see it because you brought the bottle 151, and I definitely don't remember fucking most of it. So part of me doesn't.
So now I'm stuck in a place where it's all so old that I'm not sure that that's how I want to introduce it. So I was thinking just the other day about doing. Hold on, I gotta have another shot.
Okay, cheers.
Oh, there we go.
What do you drink? What bourbon are you drinking?
A Jim Beam.
Okay, nice.
I'm bored.
Jim Beam is hairy. Like the Evan Williams is like cheaper and just like a little bit smoother for some reason.
I know.
Yeah.
It's just old habits die hard.
Yeah, it's true.
So I was thinking the footage is all anywhere from like 1.5 to 3 years old. And I don't know if that's the best foot to air it on. Some of these bands aren't even together anymore.
Yeah.
So what I thought would be really fun to do is like a quarantine version of this where just get together on Skype or whatever kind of thing. What Zoom's one of the ones that's picking up a lot of popularity now.
Yeah.
And shoot the show together that way.
Gotcha.
From our own respective locations.
Yeah.
Launch a season that way. And then come back at season 2 being
like the throwback.
Older footage and like, hey, this is where the idea started. Because that would give me a good chance to get on season 3 at the same time. So
yeah, there you go.
It's still in play. We're still going to do it. For those folks out there who've been with me for the long term, some of these ideas take me a decade to actually
well, it's,
really get it out there.
Like I said, you don't have a management team. You don't have anyone else doing it. You got to figure out how to do this shit yourself. So things do obviously take longer,
Yeah, and I'm going to say something that's probably not widely popular.
Okay.
But I don't like to put out shit either.
Yeah, that's fair.
I've struggled big with the live streaming stuff. We've done a few of them, and it just looks and sounds like garbage. And we've even invested in some new equipment to make it better,
Yeah.
and it's still not good. I would be $5,000 in the hole to put out
Yeah.
something that really looks and sounds good. And
Well, what do you think? I mean, and Swagger kind of talked about this a little bit as well, where they're just going to start filming a song each week and releasing it on YouTube. So, what do you think about maybe doing 2 or 3 songs, 4 songs, maybe a shorter thing, and putting it up on YouTube, filming it not live, and then just being there to engage with the people, kind of the way Heavy Rebel worked, but just maybe.
I personally think that's a great idea. I saw Swagger post something about that like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And that got me thinking about that. And then the other thing I think is part of what makes live shows so great.
Yeah.
Is to sit around and bullshit with friends.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yes, the music is there, and there's moments that you'll never capture on tape and that type of stuff. But
yeah,
part of that magic is giving hugs and shaking hands and doing shots and not just enjoying each other's company. So we were just talking about maybe doing a little spot. I don't know,
like a hangout thing.
Where we just sit down for a half an hour and drink and bullshit with people on the internet.
Yeah, that's kind of what this has become to an extent. You know, like I started this in like March when things were crazy, and I thought like if I'm gonna descend into madness, I might as well document it.
Right.
But then things kind of normalized, so now I just like get drunk and talk to some people I know every other week. You know, and it's kind of. I don't know. I enjoy it. I think almost more than people watching it enjoy it. You know, it's like just nice to have conversations with people that I wish I could see. You know.
Yeah. And you know what? If we're gonna be in the middle of something so intense and serious, and we can find ways to still communicate with each other, I think that's really healthy.
Yeah. And I mean that we have technology is so. There's so much shit. Like I don't understand how to do anything, and it's still amazing how much I've learned how to do during this. Like you can communicate with people, you know, farther away. Like I enjoyed Heavy Rebel this year. Like just I sat there. Lara had people over, but it was like I had my phone open with the sound off for our set, but just messaging back and forth with everyone else that was watching it. It's like if I'm playing, I'm not there to engage with you necessarily, but it's like. If I record a set and put it up, then you can watch it while we're talking about it, you know. So it's like we kind of get both at the same time, you know, the hangout and the, you know.
It occurred to me during our set, that same idea, like, you know what, maybe once we go back to quote unquote normal, if we ever do, then maybe part of that new normal will be doing some stuff like that once a quarter where we put out something that people can enjoy for 30 minutes. From wherever they are in the country, because even when we tour 120 days a year, that doesn't mean that I'm going to get to every venue on the West and the East Coast in a 2-year time period. You know?
And then when you talk about doing stuff like, you know, you'd like to go to Western Europe or South America or wherever, you know, once you start doing that, it's like, how do you even get, you know, time to hit half of the spots, you know?
Yeah, then you have to tour more like Bob Lane does, where that mofo will go straight for 6 months, once a year.
Yeah.
And those places are all kind of spread out, you know?
Yeah. He's a special, you know, he goes pretty hard. Special individual. You writing any stuff at home now? How's that been going?
You know, I think I'm taking a break from writing for a little while.
Yeah.
And I want to say this very, very thoughtfully. That doesn't mean that I'm not collecting ideas.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that I'm not, you know, having little tidbits here and there.
Yeah.
We even did a couple new demos recently.
Okay. You got Tim living. Tim's living right there on the compound with you, right?
Well, when I sit down to write, I sit down to write.
Yeah. Okay.
I take ideas that I've collected over the last 6 months or 2 years, whatever, and we really pound them out. Like I said, when we went into the studio last April, not this April past, but April 2019, we had 25 songs that we started with before we even started demoing. And I like working that way, because to me, when I work that way, a record comes out of it instead of just songs. If
Gotcha.
you will.
Yeah.
And I like collecting a whole bunch of ideas for a period of time and then really sitting down and fleshing them out, especially when I get to do that with other people. Like we sat here for the whole month of March in 2019. Tim and Sarah and I did,
Yeah.
and I just presented all the different ideas to them, and it was like, here, what about this and this? And we worked out those demos together, and even the demos sound really good. You know,
Yeah, awesome.
Because it was something that we took time to do. So all that to say, I haven't been focusing on writing right now.
Yeah.
And like I said, those other things that we have been doing have been more fun.
Yeah.
I don't write from a big socio-political perspective.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I like to write about things that happen to me.
Yeah. Like more personal.
And
yeah.
that doesn't mean that every single experience that I have is going to be recorded. It also doesn't mean that every single song that I release is a direct account of what I did. I think I mentioned to you earlier, one of the songs that we put on this new record is about domestic abuse.
Oh, that one, yeah.
I haven't dealt with that situation in my own personal life. I know people who have.
Yeah.
But it's something that I faced a situation that was close enough to that's just kind of where the writing went with it.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've heard silly things like people talk about Johnny Cash not ever having shot a man and gone to prison.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like almost you can write about the idea of something, you know, like
correct.
Like most novels or, you know, most great works are not something, you know, that someone has done themselves, you know. Like it's not
the first track off of our second full-length record, the record is called Land of Opportunity and Sorrows. The first track of it's Big Gold. And Big Gold was something that I wrote about being on the road with people.
Yeah.
And how sometimes when you're on the road with people, you're a really shitty team. You're not not good to each other.
I know that.
Even if you're friends back home, you hit points where someone doesn't care enough, or
I've been terrible to people that I you know, that I have giant regrets about some of my behaviors, you know, during times where I was just so beaten down that I didn't have it in me to not be that way, you know.
And so somebody listening to that song might not hear that on the surface. They just hear this song about what sounds like maybe in 1800s gold rush.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but that's still, that same principle applies today.
Yeah.
You know? And so I love writing like that. And times like this pandemic, don't get me wrong, there will be pieces of whatever next full-length record I write.
Yeah.
There will be pieces that are impacted by that. We can't not.
Yeah,
sorry to use a double negative, but we can't not.
I know, absolutely. I mean, I've had that conversation that's kind of been a theme throughout these episodes. Like, what do you think? And this is before the George Floyd and the civil unrest, which threw a whole another layer on top of things. But initially, when it was just the quarantine situation that everyone's dealing with, like I was very curious to see what music would come out of it. You know, like I think sometimes like really dark times produce positive music. Like sometimes it goes against the way that you would expect it to be. Like not everyone's going to want to hear songs about staying home for 3 days. You know, you do a little more, things become a little more lively or peppy because it was a dark time to like counteract that, you know?
I remember the Columbine shootings and all of the stuff that came out of that, and you got to see a lot of those different things like you're talking about. Some of it was just very real accounts.
Yes.
Some of it was far-fetched stuff. Some of it was just positive things that came out of that.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting, like just seeing how, you know, when you talk about like World War I and shit like that, how, you know, the 20s was all like the Charlestons, and I don't know, it just seems like different dark times in history, you've gotten different art from that. So it's interesting to think about living in one of those times.
And I say this very seriously. I'm excited to see what kind of art comes out of the intensity that's being focused on the Black Lives Movement, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
the foundations of a lot of the music that we play are rooted in the Black communities, and to
Yes.
see
Yeah.
what comes out of this from hopefully every different skin color going forward should be intense and beautiful, and I really look forward to that.
Yeah. It seems like the time for protests. It seems almost as volatile as you see everything like your Dylan or your Beatles or whatever stuff that came out of the 60s, or times where there were a lot of protest songs, or Woody Guthrie in like the Depression era. It seems like something, or the thrash metal of the 80s. It seems like we're waiting to see what that is. I mean, maybe it's just Run the Jewels. Maybe they've just like, they're the voice of the generation or whatever. But it seems like we're waiting to hear whatever the music of these times is.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And I guess I've never really thought about it that way until probably the last few years, just because I was often just somebody who listened to whatever came out instead of just being somebody who was thinking about, well, if I'm doing this, what are other people doing when it comes to not only writing, but how are we participating in things?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that type of stuff really bears itself out, and I look forward to seeing the good and the bad that comes with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's gonna be. I've seen a couple of like memes and posts about that, like, every dude's like photo collage or exhibit about his time in quarantine. It's like there's gonna be a lot of like typical probably bad art or whatever, but amongst that I'm sure there will be some powerful pieces.
Yeah.
What's up with how do you sell your albums? Do you have like a Duane Mark website?
Yes, I hate DuaneMark.com.
Okay.
Is the place to go for all that info. I laugh because we've been struggling so much to sell records during this that we decided to put together some crazy merch packages. Like,
oh wow, okay.
We're shipping within the U.S. all 4 of our records for $50.
Okay.
Because merch just isn't moving the same way.
Gotcha.
When you're at those live shows, you're telling people that don't know about it, and don't get me wrong, we're still, as I think we were discussing earlier, we're still exploring routes like getting more of that media attention to help drive those sales. But as we've been a little slow on that, we got to do something in the interim to pay the bills. So
yeah, absolutely.
Merch sales are one of the ways that we do that. Our core fan base has gone way out of their way in the last 4 months to help us
Nice.
and be supportive, even though that music isn't live there in their face. And we can't thank them enough for that.
Yeah.
But we're starting to get to a weird phase in all of this, for lack of better words, crisis.
Yeah.
That people aren't responding the same way to things like live streams and that type of stuff. So it's going to be something that we're going to all have to adapt to.
Yeah.
We're going to have to be patient with. And I hope that we can generate enough revenue out of what we're doing currently to stay right side up. I mean, worst case scenario, we'll find other jobs. We'll do whatever we got to stay afloat.
Well, you've been kind of lucky where you generally work a job while you're touring, right? Like, what do you work for, like a beard supply company?
Is that really lucky?
I mean, not lucky. Well,
I am thankful to have a job that I can do remotely. Even blessed, I might say.
Yeah.
But let me tell you what, it takes a lot of extra work.
Yeah, okay. So,
when I was in my younger years, I never really thought of.
I didn't mean to diminish that in that way.
I'm teasing
certainly.
you.
Yeah.
I'm teasing you.
But, the fact that you're able to travel and still have an income, like as a underground touring musician, like that definitely helps. Has that continued during this, or has that work slowed up, like because of this? It is
cut way back.
Yeah.
For a little while, there was some assistance from the company that I work with.
Gotcha.
But eventually, that kind of money runs out, and we've had to try to find ways to reevaluate what we're doing as a home, or the chicken farm, as we like to call it.
Yeah.
And not touring has been a big part of that. I mean, that's a massive part of our income throughout the year.
Yeah.
And I'm not crying. We're surviving just like a
Yeah,
lot
but
of our
it's
peers are,
yeah.
and it is what it is. We'll get through this together.
Have
I know that, like I said, the support we've received from a lot of our core fan base has made a big impact on that.
have you considered making Tim start in OnlyFans from the trailer?
We've considered everything.
Yeah, okay. Or maybe
Come on, Rev Kev.
Or
You
should
know
I
my
say
brain's always going 100 miles an hour.
should I say how do we search Tim's OnlyFans from the trailer? Like is that already in progress?
That I don't even want to know. If I was going to be involved in it, it would be very classy. If it's just Tim, I can't say one way or the other.
How does that work? Like you said, when you guys were in a studio, like 'cause, he's a songwriter in his own right. How much input do you look for from other people when you're like
when it comes to the core of the song itself? I'm open to ideas, but generally speaking, I have demos done before I even get to meet with the people that I work with.
Yeah.
So to be clear, I love music or input on the musical side of stuff.
Yeah.
I consider input on the lyrical side of stuff.
Gotcha. You're a little closer to the vest with that.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean I've been working on some writing with a guy out of Las Vegas for a couple years, and we haven't worked through anything that we're both like, yeah, this is it. We're gonna go with this. But I like that idea.
Yeah.
I just haven't found somebody that I really connect with on that level.
Gotcha. Okay.
But from the musical side, Tim and Sarah had a huge part in what came out on this new record. When it came to a lot of specifically their instruments that they play live on stage, that upright bass by Tim and that fiddle by Sarah, they really, really, really focused and worked hard on that. And sometimes I was able to be like, look, this is what I was thinking. What if we did this? But a lot of times that's stuff that was their own creative input there.
Awesome. Yeah, cool.
Which I love.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice.
I've done that in the past with musicians, but never on the scale that we did at this time, where we took that month and sat down and really worked through that stuff.
When you guys have been working together for a while, so I'm sure there's chemistry and there's, you kind of have
absolutely. And I think that's an amazing thing that we were talking about. The band I was in the early 2000s, that's a thing I miss, is writing more in that, I don't want to say jam kind of sense, but like you walk into rehearsal, you say, hey, I got this new idea, and then you start working that out together.
Yeah.
That's something that not having, I don't know.
Absolutely. I get it.
It can wear on you a little bit. Sometimes I think my material starts to sound the same.
Yeah. I mean, I think, you have a style or you have a, personal way of approaching stuff. So, yeah, obviously that's going to happen, I think, to everybody,
But I look forward to projects to inspire my creativity. Like Tim put out a new solo record.
Yeah, absolutely.
In February. I think it's called Snake Charmer.
Yeah, it is. It's a great
album. I got that right.
Yeah.
We did that here in my home studio.
Oh, cool.
And so being able to not only engineer, but have a lot of the producing aspect of it was a lot of fun. And I try to stay out of his way as a writer and just look at it from a producer standpoint,
Gotcha, yeah.
And it was cool to do that.
Yeah.
And listening to a lot of his material genuinely it's inspiring because it provides a different perspective on some of the same things that we deal with.
Yeah, right on. Cool. Yeah, and that's a great album. Tim has developed into a very awesome songwriter and performer. Like that dude.
Yeah. If he'd just get out of my backyard now.
Yeah, is that it? Is there a timeline on that? He needs some space. What about your fiddle player? Did he live somewhere else and just comes over for Lucas? Is that who played fiddle for you for the Heavy Rebel set?
What was that?
Who was the fiddle player for the Heavy Rebel set?
Oh, Curtis Thomas.
Curtis, not Lucas. Yeah, Curtis.
Curtis is an Austin local legend here.
Okay.
If you guys ever want to have some fun and see some amazing bands, look up Curtis Thomas.
Okay.
He's a part of a number of different acts here in the Austin area.
Gotcha.
Most of them don't tour, but they put out some just fantastic music.
Nice.
And that was actually Curtis's first time ever playing with us. So.
Oh wow, yeah, he crushed it. He did a good job.
He had studied the songs for some shows that we were going to do. After we announced Sarah was leaving, we had not some songs, but some shows lined up for March, and he was going to do all of our Central Texas stuff with us while we figured out what we were going to do about a player for the road.
Yeah.
And he kind of had that all under his belt, and so sent him an updated set list a couple weeks before we filmed the Heavy Rebel set, and he came out and we ran through it once in the living room, and it sounded great, and I was like, okay.
Nice, yeah.
My kids came up and they were like, that guy plays fiddle very different than Miss Sarah does. It's like, yeah, that's the beauty of music. A lot of people do.
Yeah, absolutely.
He nailed the licks that needed to be there, and the rest of it is the creative expression of that person on stage.
Yeah, absolutely.
I get in a little bit of trouble with that from some of the, I shouldn't say trouble, but I get a little bit of flack from that from some of the more professional side of the music business.
Oh, they want this
where a lot of times people are like, well, you play with a lot of different people and they have different sounds. I'm like, yeah, but the core of what's there is still there.
Exactly, yeah. And almost, I think it makes it a different experience. Maybe someone would want to see you with different things because it kind of like brings out your uniqueness by
Definitely
them doing different
compliments
things.
on both.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. I mean, it's hard to keep a touring lineup, together, and work it out financially and time and mentally and, personality compatibility and whatnot.
Yeah. And it's funny balancing that. I mean, you know it.
Yeah.
And anybody who's toured out there knows it. It's something that you constantly have to work on.
Yeah.
I laugh when people talk to us on the road and they're excited about the fact that we've been together for X amount of months or years. And I just look at those people and say, like, dude, it's a lot like being married.
Yeah.
You have to find a way to make things work together. And if it really matters to you, you will find that. And that doesn't mean that just because something separates down the road that you don't still love each other.
Yeah.
What it means is that it's a challenging relationship and you really have to work through it.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's having everyone's needs be met, whatever they are, financial, comfort, or artistic. Like the meshing of those three things is pretty difficult,
You take that and then add the fact that people only like to eat at certain restaurants, and this one choose their food this way, and this person has to go to the bathroom every often. And holy shit.
It does become a lot. Yeah, absolutely.
We had a drummer that we toured with probably 3 years ago now. That this poor guy had sleep apnea, and holy shit. It impacted all of us.
Yeah, of course.
And in ways I never thought of. You think of something like that and you're like, oh yeah, well, that just means you get less sleep. Yes, that's true, but this guy also falls asleep when he's sitting in the co-pilot seat.
Yeah. It just disrupts the whole process. Yeah, absolutely.
Right, and you have to on the fly rethink how you do things just so you can finish that tour.
Yeah. And
finish it amicably, and then try to see what happens after that. Do we stick together? Do we part ways?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a rough business. Like it's a rough business, and it's not as lucrative as it used to be. So it's you're doing it. Most people are doing it for. You could probably make a better living doing something else a little bit easier.
Yeah.
So there's a lot.
I think that the people that are involved in this, the majority of them that I see are in this because it's their passion. I know that's why I'm still here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I sure as hell ain't making a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely. Right on, man. Well, I think, is there anything else before I let you go that you want to discuss? Anything you want to push?
No, please follow us on social media. I was really excited to see that our new record has over 18,000 plays on Spotify.
Yeah.
And it keeps going up faster and faster. So we're really excited about that. I can't wait to put the next one out.
I feel like, and for
I
anyone
can't.
listening, following bands on Spotify really helps out a lot because I think once you get a certain
Oh
amount of
man, whether
followers,
people recognize it or
yeah,
not, yeah, the income that comes off of it is so minimal, but
getting put on
the
other
exposure
playlists
that
or
we get there,
yeah,
it means a lot. And those algorithms that companies like Spotify and Google and Facebook and whatever else use, it's all about interest. And when they see interest, they start pushing it to
more,
other
yeah, it
users.
builds, yeah, snowball effect kind of thing, yeah,
Makes a world of difference for us.
yeah, absolutely.
And
So
when we can show a promoter that, like, hey, look, we have this many followers on this thing, it's helpful.
mm-hmm.
But you know what I really want to push
Okay.
is that I think I should just quit music and open up a brisket truck.
Oh yeah, I forgot about talking about brisket with you because that's like your fucking thing, you know. And even you mentioned that earlier. You've been cooking a lot. I kind of wanted to delve into that. So yeah, what have you been cooking? Like, what have you been getting into?
The smoking techniques have definitely continued to be refined, but
Gotcha.
I've been spending more time on learning more about international cuisine.
Okay, like what kind of stuff you getting into?
Indian food has been something that's really piquing
Oh,
my interest. I found a new Asian grocery store here in the
okay.
Austin area that's just incredible. Um,
I think about
yeah,
the Hispanic market at the end of your road fairly often. Like
they're great.
way more than is reasonable. Just like the fresh tortillas, the chorizo shaped in the shape of a pig. Like I think about that place a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, did you see the last time you were here? Did you see they have chicharrones that are like the size of half of a pig?
No, I did not. Yeah.
It's insanity.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really love that kind of stuff, and so to be able to learn more about that in the last few months, actually have time to focus on that instead of just falling back to the things that
Yeah,
I
right on.
know already has been cool. Sometimes trying to learn those new things when you're super busy gets stressful,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
this has been different. It's been good. It's been scary, man,
Yeah,
but it's
it
been good.
has. Well, I mean, hopefully, you guys seem to be making it through. Hopefully we all come out the other side and get back to the normalcy.
Definitely.
I
Thank you for having me on, dude.
yeah, thanks for being a guest. You're great. I look forward to you seeing you again. I'm looking forward to you
If you ever
rolling
do
through here.
repeat guests, have me on again in a month or two. I've
Yeah,
enjoyed the hell out of this, and I'll make sure we push it and tune in a little more too.
yeah. If I can, and what I generally do is I will edit this tomorrow and put up the whole episode on YouTube, and then I'll put each individual interview on YouTube, and then I'll put it up on podcast sites. So
Sounds
so
good.
it'll be available to listen to. So everyone
So you can make sure that my episode said that Epstein didn't kill himself,
well,
and
that new lady
that
just got COVID, right? His pal that yeah, I think she's in jail in New Hampshire and just got COVID. So it's like, oh, of course she did. It's like,
you can make sure everybody knows that, and that I didn't write One-Eyed King about Amigo the Devil.
all right, fair enough. What should I play from the new album on the way out?
Let's go with One-Eyed King.
Oh, well, I did that. I did. Hey everybody, I'm not sure exactly why it got cut off there at the end. I guess there must have been some delay in the recording or whatnot. But that was pretty much the end of our conversation with Duane Mark. Thanks very much for listening to episode 12. Everything should be up on the video should be up on YouTube and the podcast sites relatively soon. I think it helps a lot for other people to find the podcast if you subscribe to it on whatever site you're listening to, or if you can give me a 5-star review, I think that would help too. Yeah, cool. So we'll be back on Tuesday, July 21st. If you have any input about who you'd like the guest to be for that episode, shoot me a line. Sweet. Thanks again for listening.